Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Longbangers Week at Hibs, sponsored by Leith Spirits. I'm Matty.
Hello, I'm Colin.
Hello, I'm John.
And right, so
Is it a partnership? Sorry, is it a partnership with Leith Spirits?
Well, a partnership, sponsorship, and association with. I'd like to mix it up. I view them as an equal. Do you know they help us out with stuff that we can give away to the listeners, and we say their name. Sounds fair. That's reasonable, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't sound one way. It doesn't sound one way to me.
And we all know how forgetful I can be with things. So just the very fact that I remember to do it mostly every time we record, I think that's a win for them.
Yep.
Right, just a quick point to note is we're recording this on transfer deadline day. It is 20 to 9 just now, so we know of two signings that Hibs have made. There are some Twitter accounts that are reporting that we're in the hunt for another one. So if that happens while we're on here, we might have to sort of break stride a wee bit and announce that as we go. And if you're listening, obviously you'll be listening, and you won't be listening now because we recorded it now. But when you listen, if you pretend that this is transfer deadline day, when you listen to it, it can be exciting, like you're watching Jim White and that on Sky Sports News, but without somebody chucking a dildo in my ear. Hopefully. Right.
We could have done it as a live YouTube. That was handy last night, John, because when I know you've not listened, and when we forgot twice, I couldn't think of somebody's name, and we'll just message in and give you the name, and you go, like Google, live Google.
Live Google, it was like ChatGPT, but with real people. I quite enjoyed doing that. Like, it's not something I think we'll make a habit of, but we'll do it every now and again. I think just a wee special. Right. Anyway, time is of the essence. Week at Hibs, if this is the first time you're listening to this or watching it, this is like a summary of the week's news at Hibernian FC. So let's start with the biggest news, which was safe standing on, no, it wasn't it? Bill Foley and the Black Knight Football Club getting approval from the SFA for the dispensation on Article 13, which allows them to invest up to 29.9% of the club, right, to purchase that much. We talked about it in detail last night, Colin, on our YouTube episode, so I don't kind of propose that we go through all that again. But John, we never got your perspective on it, so I'll come to you. What did you make of the news, and what do you think it will mean for Hibs?
I think it's a positive development, and it's nice that it's finally been concluded. Like, it feels like it's been rumbling away since before Christmas, maybe even as early as November, if not sooner than that. And I think, if nothing else, with it having been signed off, the club can start looking forward to other things, and fans shouldn't allow themselves to be distracted with conspiracy theories that the SFA wouldn't allow it. They want to continue that duopoly, and hopefully we can reap the benefits through the proposed investment and with some of the players that we've already seen coming in. And I think it's easy to see that there's a tangible link with Bournemouth there with some of the players that have come in.
Are you excited by it?
Aye, but no, like falling off my seat excited. It's more just because, like I say, there was that initial, there's a billionaire going to be investing in Hibs. How much is that going to mean? And then there was kind of like the if that was the peak, there was the trough of, he's only going to invest 6 million. But then you saw the potential of what that 6 million might mean, and some of the players that have come in that I just mentioned there, and you start to kind of, the optimism starts to creep up again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I am in a minute. And also, like I say, it's just nice to have it. It wasn't kind of hanging over us like a dark cloud, was it? It was just sort of there, like, is it going to be signed off or is it no? Aye.
Do you see? So we asked the question last night. Do you see any negative to it? Like, what do you think could be the worst case? Rather than talking about, we've talked about how good it is. I'm sure there's people out there that I think there are people out there that don't think it's a good idea. So, what do you see any negatives?
I think one of the negatives might be, and I think we talked about it a wee bit, with regards to, like, in the previous episode, we suggested, well, what if Bournemouth have got a keeper that isn't quite as good as our next prospect that comes through? Although we kind of talked about how if our keeper was better, well, we would just kind of sell them and we would get that other guy in. It's still a very real possibility because we are part of that bigger pyramid where we're like the proving ground, if you like, for the next step for them to go up. My concern about that would be that we found ourselves in a position similar to this before, where we've got players on loan from down south. Where I think was it the boy Daniel Boateng from Arsenal,
He was
and he
awful.
came in, didn't really do anything. Nathan Wood came in, didn't really do anything, but he's since moved on, I think, for a decent bit of money. And it's just that I think if we can get every player of similar quality to what we've seen from Marcondes already, that would be good. It's just the wee question mark over, well, are we just going to be getting punted every other player that they can't find space for down the road? I think the other thing that might be a potential concern is the whole millionaire, majority, billionaire, minority investment between the Gordons and the Black Knight Group. I wonder what that might mean at board level if there was to be a falling out, for example. Does the investment suddenly dry up? Do the players' loans or deals suddenly get terminated and we're left with, well, who knows what we're left with at that point?
Can you put me off that now, John? I'm
Right,
honest.
that's this. Fuck it. Get back in the email.
Right.
Tell 'em.
So I think we talked about a wee bit of that last night, and again, I'd point folk to our episode. It's YouTube Investment Special or something it's called on YouTube, and it'll be in your podcast players as well. But there's, I think, a lot of the future investment and how it works is all written down and contracted, so it's not going to rely on a fallout. There'll be a bit of untangling there if that was to happen. John, just before we move on, because like I said, I'm not going to dwell on this anymore. You mentioned it's no fall off your seat exciting. Have you ever fallen off your seat with excitement?
Maybe not the excitement, but definitely everyone's been like swinging on their chair at school or something and maybe been having a laugh, and next thing you know, you're staring at the ceiling.
Yeah, I remember you had been in the same class when I got pushed off my chair.
Yeah.
It was a slow motion one. It was like, I think I took the desk with me and everything. Remember?
Did your
Yes,
arms
There's
start
one way
windmilling?
you can't stop yourself. I went sideways rather than backwards or forwards. But, that's how I got it. That's how my English. I wasn't great at that in third year.
No, not as
It was
bad as some, they'll call them.
not only one grade better though.
Yeah, only one. Right, that's Foley done and dusted for now until we get some more news. I suppose it still has to be ratified at the EGM, which I imagine will be a formality. So we'll bring more news as we have it. Colin, a couple of players come in today.
Aye. Right, so I'll tell you what I know about them, and then you've got to tell me how good they are. So we're seeing two centre halves, both on loan. One from Sunderland, one from Bournemouth, which I think was rumoured at the weekend actually. I was told they were at the training centre on Friday. Owen Bevan and Nectar Triantis.
Well done.
Happy with that pronunciation?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm taking that all day
Um,
long.
So we've signed them both
try
on loan.
again.
Aye, what the fuck are you talking about? I've never heard of them. So they're both centre halves. I've no idea if one's left sided or not. They both appear young guys. Is it just a loan deal at the end of the season? Do you know? Can you fill the gaps for me? Do you think they're going to be starting on Saturday? Is Will Fish on his way out? Is Hanlon on his way out? Tell me the story. What's happening, John?
It'll be interesting to see how the defence shapes up for the remainder of the season because, like you say, there's two of them that have come in now. We've got, well, in fact, I think we've got three if you include Mariah Welsh. I'm sure he's a defender as well.
Midfielder.
Midfielder. Oh, well.
He was on the bench
Sure.
on Saturday. Was that him? Yeah. Did he go straight
Was
on the
he?
bench?
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he was on the
I
bench
just-
on
Aye.
Saturday. Yeah, he went straight into the squad.
Was too busy focusing on the starting 11. I think so. I had a look at Owen Bevan earlier, and as much as he's still quite young, I think he's spent a wee bit of time out on loan at other teams. So it'll be interesting to see. Like he's had a reasonable number of games, so it'll be interesting to see whether he comes in and starts for Hibs or whether he continues on the bench, or sorry, goes onto the bench for Hibs, and the likes of Hanlon, Fish, or potentially Bashiri when he comes back, if they start ahead. And I wonder if this comes down to, so you see it with Nectarios Triantis. I'm going to insist on that pronunciation, Colin. With him having worked with Montgomery before, I wonder if this is now starting to see more of a shift towards a Montgomery style team with Montgomery style players to play the Montgomery style way, rather than making do with what he currently has.
You do wonder that, knowing that he played, is that in Australia, he played with Montgomery, so
Yeah.
you would have thought you would have thought he's coming into the team. Otherwise, why is he got to sign him to sit him on the bench when he's obviously not getting a game at Sunderland already?
Yeah.
So I would be, based on the limited knowledge that I've just rattled off to you, expect him to start the game on Saturday.
Will I give you some quotes from Montgomery on it on the Triantis sign? I don't know so much. Hibs haven't pushed the Bevan signing quite so much, but the Triantis one, he says we've been chasing Nectar for some time, and although we thought he'd remain at Sunderland, circumstances changed last night, and we made a move to bring him to Hibs. He's a young player that I know very well from my time in Australia. I signed him from the Mariners and gave him his A-League debut as a teenager. I saw huge potential in him. I'm really happy to bring Nectar to the club and look forward to him meeting the players at HTC. He adds to the quality we've already brought in during this window. He was a mainstay in our championship winning team in Australia before joining Sunderland in the summer. Although he may not have played much this season, when he has featured, he's performed well. So definitely is bringing in that, like a player he knows.
Yeah.
And I think it sort of sums up like the transfer activity that we've done with those two coming in is almost like right down the core of the team again as well, isn't it? Like we've got defenders, midfielders, attackers is the first stage is a proper rebuild by the look of it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They're all
Sorry, Carl.
I was just going to say they're all of them on loan. So, but it does, because I was sitting there thinking when you were talking, it does feel like they started to clear it, like we keep hearing and talking about it, and it is a bit of clear it. But we're just bringing loan players in, but that might be what you need to do till the summer to get. Just because of the time here, everybody says it's a shit window to buy in and all that kind of stuff, and we've got millions to spend. So.
Well, that's it. Foley said there's millions available
it's like
in the summer.
Now, but we just need somebody for 6 months to fill the gaps.
Do you think they'll be our starting defenders? And there's two come in because it's interesting. I think it's pretty much accepted there's a problem at left centre half with the team, right? So neither Hanlon or Rocky have really cemented that place. Will Fish never really comes into conversation about not being an option to play at centre half. So are we assuming Will Fish will remain as one centre half, and then it'll be either Trantis or Bevan that'll take the other centre half spot?
Yeah.
And do you think that means Hanlon will be on his way out?
I'm still waiting for that move to Wraith Rovers that I heard was rumoured, but I think I've maybe been sold a dummy now.
We'll have had a couple of outs as well, John. Do you want to cover the outs?
I said the first one. I want to talk about like it happened. Jimmy Jeggo had been rumoured for a wee while that he was off to Melbourne City. It had been suggested that his missus had been busy on Facebook Marketplace punting all their gear, and lo and behold, he's away to Melbourne City. And it's funny. I was having a think about him today. Obviously, like I knew that we were going to be talking about this tonight. I was walking the dog and I was thinking about Jeggo and his performance. And I think at times performances for Hibs, and I think at times he sort of, I don't know if I'd necessarily describe it as like divide the support, but I think he had some fans. And I think he definitely had some critics as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, like when I was thinking about it in my head, I likened him to Dylan McGeoch, in as much as he played in a sort of Dylan McGeoch type of position, but he didn't have the quality of Dylan McGeoch. And additionally, when you think about McGeoch and the team, the midfield that he played in, Jeggo didn't have those players around him either. So he didn't have, say, like a John McGinn or a Scott Allen playing alongside him. But I think that I'd be interested to hear from Montgomery and from like Johnson, who I think, if I remember rightly, signed him, what they thought of his performances. Because as much as he wasn't, like I say, like he wasn't fully a Dylan McGeoch style player, like he didn't have the range of passing, say he didn't have the ability of Dylan McGeoch. I wonder if they were happy with his performances. Like I wonder if Jago gave what he had to give Hibs, but wasn't able to give more because he just wasn't that type of player. If you see where I'm coming from.
It's a good question. I'll get your thoughts on it in a second, Colin. I think that you could probably answer that by how many games he started. Like Jago tended to be brought on in games. There was only like a handful of times, certainly under Montgomery, that he started games. So that seems to suggest that he wasn't viewed as a starting player. And the performances probably weren't what Montgomery was after. They're probably satisfactory, like enough to keep him on the bench and in the team, but not enough to become a starter. I don't know, what do you think, Colin?
I don't. I thought when he came in, he was just in to be the guy that broke up the play and all that. But
Mhm.
this, so I don't know if I'm answering the question, but the formation that we're playing with the two in the midfield, he's just not suited to that because he can't do the passing. He's the extra body in midfield that sweeps up the shite and stops a bit of play. And if you're doing that, then we've not got enough in midfield because he can't do the other bit
Yeah.
or doesn't or I think it's can't more than doesn't. But so he's just not suitable to the style of play that the manager wants. Um, but I think at the time of the signing, I think he was okay, and I think he got overly criticised. He was one of them that was like a. I didn't think he was fucking outstanding, but I didn't think he was shite either. I just
Mm.
thought he
Yeah.
was a decent experience signing and that kind of break the play up position. But it was one of them where it was like, it's like you had to either say he was shit or say he was brilliant, and
Aye.
you didn't have to do that. Like,
Aye.
It's a bit.
It doesn't have to be extreme. Somewhere in the
Uh,
middle is
yeah,
all right.
It's a bit of a moot point, but I wonder if in a different team with different players around them, if he would have been one of those doing the unseen type of work, like quietly praised for that limited role, but
nah,
effective, potentially
I
effective
don't.
role.
He could have been. He could have been. But there was too many folk who went early and said he was shite, so it was it was never going to be allowed that. So anytime he played a pass that didn't go there, or he did play plenty of passes, but anything that wasn't like a wonder pass was criticised as he's shite, and it was just that reinforcement of I said he was shite at the start. I'm going to continue saying he's shite. So
Yeah.
he was never, and I don't know if that's just the way the world's changed and you can't do it anymore. Because I think Marvin Bartley never played fucking World Cup passes like, and I don't think Matty Jack did either.
No.
But
Do you think it's how how much do you think it plays a part that certain players have an almost like an aura or develop a bit of a persona? Because I think Bartley developed a persona, Matty Jack developed a persona, but even Dylan McGeoch developed a persona which was kind of part injured and part really, really good in that midfield. But Jimmy Jago never really did. And I wonder if that was because of the team that he came into after a prolonged period of kind of indifferent performances for the club as a whole.
I think the difference between, like, we talk about Matty Jack or Marvin Bartley in particular, is they were hard players. Do you know what I mean? Like they were physical, and I think they broke up the play at least as good as Jago, but if not better. But they also won the physical battles, like and in particularly tasty games like Matty Jack. Like, you remember the Dundee United game, kind of famously, when he
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't give him the ball back, and he was like, just fuck yous, like he was a hard player.
shit stuff.
Aye,
Yeah,
and he got stuck in. Bartley never shirked anything for anybody. And I'm not saying I kind of like think of Jago shirking anything, but at the same time, Jago didn't start anything. He never had like that, you're not beating
yeah,
me type attitude that
Yeah.
the other ones did. And I think if you're in that type of position, that's what you need to get fans on side with you and to stay on side. And folk will forgive a lot if you're not technically good, but you've got the
It's funny
character there.
how when you describe the two of the qualities that come to the fore is the physical and almost ability to wind up the opposition. Aye, so it's funny. Like I've been critical, I think, in the past of like that sort of like midfield enforcer type role because I think it limits you as a football team. But actually, there is merit in having it, but with the player with the right mentality and with the right skills to go with it.
I think it's not even so much that they wind the opposition up, is that they then get wound up. Like they stand up to it. So if somebody's trying on with them, they're
Yes,
just like, "Yeah, fuck you, who you think you are."
yeah.
Deutsch was the other one that went.
Aye, it was a funny one. I think it was a funny one for me because it had been rumoured for, well, I think it had been rumoured possibly since he went out on loan to Kilmarnock, and then he wasn't really in Lee Johnson's plans. Came back, I think maybe scored a hat trick after. Help me out with the timeline here because he came back and he scored a hat trick in the game against Clyde in the League Cup. Was that at the start of last season?
Yeah, it was Lee Johnson's
sort of
time.
pre-season League Cup one.
Yeah.
Aye. And would I be right in saying that he'd sort of been in and around the squad at that point, albeit he'd been sort of rumoured to leave and he said, no, I'm going to fight for my place, and he chipped in with a few goals.
Yeah.
And Colin, you spoke to him at the Community Foundation Christmas thing. And I think what was he said to him? It was with regards to Foley coming in and looking for a pay
He mentioned to me,
rise.
aye, he says it'll be exciting. The best are coming in for you guys, and I went, aye, I says it'll be good. Are you asking for a big pay rise? And he said they'll get rid of me. That's what he said. On Christmas Day, that was he was laughing, but I think he must have known that it was if they're going to start spending money.
Aye. So I felt it's weird. I was going to write something for Hubwave and Patreon because I wanted to try and get my thoughts down on paper, but I actually weirdly felt a wee bit sad that he was leaving. And I think I understand why I felt a wee bit sad about it because, like, if I was one of my mates, wee laddies, McBee, Daniel, if you're listening, Daniel was a big fan of Christian Doidge, was always drawing pictures and stuff of him. And I can understand and I can empathise completely because I've been that kid who's been disappointed that one of their heroes has left the club. I never thought that I would feel that way at 41-year-old with a mortgage, raising a bairn with like proper responsibilities. But I think the reason for it is when he joined the club, I remember driving up to Arbroath for the pre-season friendly, I think, where he made his debut. And he scuffed a penalty that we talked about when we interviewed him last year. And I feel like for the last 5 years, like Christian Doidge has been a big part of my Hibs life. There was obviously like, so that first season that he had and it was when I got involved with Longbangers. It wasn't too long after that when I got involved with the podcast starting up. And if you remember, like I remember distinctly talking about it with Matty and Brian about the Aberdeen game where he missed 4 one-on-ones, which were never really 4 one-on-ones.
They've totally overplayed that.
Aye, but then I was there when he scored his hat-trick against St Johnstone at McDermott Park, 4-1. One of my mates came up, was absolutely like really, really hanging for the night before. But it's always been a thing where if you are hanging, you need to go to the game because we've got a long-standing, I wouldn't call it a tradition, but record of getting victories in those sorts of situations. Doidge didn't let us down. And in that first season, that aborted season, and I'm sure you've mentioned this before, Colin, where you had a bet with someone that he would score 20 goals or something. He scored 19 goals that season.
It was Charlie. He had a bet with somebody that he would get 20, and he got stuck because of COVID. But that was in March.
He had 19 goals. 19 goals, and then the following season he had 13, but he was part of that the forward line with Boyle and Nisbet where they scored. I think it was 46 or 47 between the three of them. Obviously, it was the COVID season where nobody was allowed to go to the games, and I think as well after that there was the injury. There was the European season, I think, where he's done his Achilles, and then he's had like a really bad spell with COVID. And I think, and obviously I was there when he scored like his last goal for Hibs up at Forfar, when I think that coined the phrase the no-look Doidge finish that we used on the podcast title last week. And I think the way, and this isn't necessarily a criticism of Hibs, and I hope it doesn't come across that way, but I think he contributed a lot in 5 years for it to just be a tweet where it says kind of like, thank you for all your efforts. Like it doesn't feel like he wasn't a club legend. He's probably more of like a cult hero, if you like, but it doesn't feel like we've acknowledged his departure enough, or acknowledged his time at the club enough, and that just leaves me feeling a wee bit sad that he's away.
I can give you a couple, but at the same time, like last season he was out on loan at Kelly, and he came back and he's sort of flitted in and out of the team. I think it was just more a case that it happened quickly. Do you know, like the offer came in,
Yeah.
he was away down the roads to get it sorted out, agreed everything. I think I saw a tweet saying that he'd agreed with the Forest Green owner that if he left Hibs, he would go back, and he just kind of stuck to his word with him. I just think
Yeah.
Hibs probably didn't have the time to do anything other than a tweet. They're not going to do like an interview with him, like kind of Klopp-esque sit down. This is going to come as a
Aye.
shock to you all, but I'm going down to Forest Green. Um,
But I think the thing about it is, and like I said, it's no meant to be a criticism of Hibs. It just felt like you say it was kind of like sudden, not even like ripping the plaster off sudden. It just fuck, he's away, he's gone. That's it. It's over. And it comes back to what we discussed in one of the last few episodes about that dismantling of the squad that needs to take place from
Yeah.
when Heckenbottom took charge. And I think that's possibly reflected in what we're seeing. Like Matty described it a few minutes ago, is like through the middle of the team.
spine.
Like that spine is like some of the players that are going to be impacted are players that have been at the club for a considerable period of time, and those that have been brought in around about 2018, 2019 time.
It's probably not a bad thing. Like long term and taking the people out of it, which is a difficult thing to do sometimes. I think the evolution of the squad is at a point where it's like there is the end of a cycle and it needs to be the start of something new. And this is probably Hibs kind of getting the ducks in the row to do that.
And absolutely. And as much as we like him, he's a nice guy. He's been on here. He scored some good goals. The players we've brought in are better than me. You know what I mean? And so it's like that's just one of the things that's going to have to happen. Unfortunately, if you want to have a better team, you need to get better players. You get better players. That means somebody's got to have to go. And I mean, I thought they would have. I was going to say I thought they would have started at the bottom and worked their way up and got rid of the weakest. But people have got to want people as well.
Mhm.
So that's how, like, there's been rumours maybe about Joe Newell today and that. Then you think, well, there's fucking 5 midfielders could go before him, but nobody wants him. So
Aye.
that's why we've still got them. You know what I mean? That's how McCurdy's still here ahead of Deutsch.
But it was Joe Neal's tweet about it that I was like, oh, that's a shame. He was almost just saying goodbye to his best pal. That's what it was like. And you're like, oh, poor Joe as well.
Aye, like you'll
And
never see him again, eh?
well,
Like,
I like the reaction. Like, I mean, largely on Twitter, and no for everybody, which fair enough, everybody's entitled to an opinion. But it was nice to see that everybody thought or nearly everybody thought as highly Deutsch as Deutsch thought of the club. And I think it's always nice when a player leaves on those sort of terms, rather than folk
aye.
gone kind of good riddance and
And we'll
glad
be
to see
watching it for
the
Forest
back of
Green
them.
now.
Aye. Right, couple of minutes left. On Friday, I suppose there was a wee bit of news about the safe stand and getting introduced into the famous five lower. John, can you see yourself doing the high bees bounce behind the goals with the young team?
How big is the safe standing section going to be? Sorry to answer a question with a question. Is it going to be the whole of the lower tier, or
I
is
don't
it
know.
just going to be like one particular area?
That's a good question. I in my head, I thought it was going to be like the section immediately behind the goals, like that sort of centre bit down with seating either side. But I don't know where I've got that from. I might have just completely made that up, and it might be the whole stand, John.
The only reason
Lower
I ask
tier.
is because I've been behind the goals before at games where there's like the big ultra element, lots of flags, lots of megaphones, and that. And the number one reason I go to the football is to watch the football, and it got on my tits a wee bit that there was flags in my face.
Yeah,
but
it's good to stand at the football as well. Like,
and that was the bit I was going to come on to. Is I would absolutely consider moving down there. Maybe not to be like in amongst the heart of it, but definitely to stand at the football, because I've mentioned that before about one of the joys of going to some of the older grounds, or when you drop down in divisions or whatever, is going to places like, I don't know, Morton or Forfar the other week, where you can stand and watch the football. It feels a much better, more natural experience rather than standing up at half time and spending the other 90 minutes sat on your arse.
Aye. Colin, you think it'll help the atmosphere?
I hope so, because that's what the whole thing's been all about. So I assume it must, because enough's been made about it, been said about it. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. That Brian McLaughlin's tweeted saying more news to come for Hibs. That
Perhaps.
was what I was trying to see if we could get away. I know it's not going to be an exclusive, but people listen to it, but it's not out yet.
It's
But
exciting, isn't it? Like I can't
there's
everybody
another one coming.
has a laugh about transfer deadline day being kind of hyped up at Sky Sports News just to kind of get the viewers up and that. But if your team's busy, it is quite like a
I'm wondering if it could be outs as well, though, because like McCurdy could go, Hanlon could go, out on either it's loans or sales, and then that might mean I don't know what position it would be coming in. We've got there's 5 centre halves now, like after the shortage, we've got 5. I don't know. I don't know what position it would be unless because we've signed two midfielders as well.
yeah. Maybe Stevens as well. Notice Bevan got number 3, which is traditional left back's number. I don't think he's a left
Stevens
back,
has
but
never ever taken that. Has he? Always
nah.
kept the same number.
There was another survey went out, fan survey for improvements. Did you get a chance to fill that in? And if so, did you put anything interesting on it?
I read an article about it today.
Aye.
And by the way,
glory holes and
Can we get
I
a
never
goal?
I never
We've
included
called
anything
against the
about.
Bees block.
I never included anything about glory holes, but I did say about like fixing the toilet locks. The other one was about the cheese toasties. I think I don't know. Like, see, like I know that like Hibs have listened to the fans in the last couple of years with regards to the catering offering, and we've
Peri
discussed it on
chips.
here. Peri peri chips, the loaded fries, that kind of thing. And I've always like the longer that I've gone to the football, the more that I've found it weird that at 3 o'clock or like half time that you go and get a pie or you get a pie before the game. Like, but I understand that it's got its traditions, probably like with the sort of the working class guy coming straight for his, whether it was the docks or the post office or wherever it happened to be that he worked. But do you not think that a wee cheese toastie would make a bit of a difference to what's on offer? Like if you saw that, was that?
You take the edge off. I mean, you're a bit hungry.
Aye, like just as
I'm not saying they would charge
it's a
you for a
novelty.
cheese toastie though.
It's
Kind of
a
like the
novelty
Yankees about
snack.
fucking
it's £4
£3 for a
minimum,
pie.
isn't it? Like, £4 at least for a toaster, which is fucking scandalous. I get annoyed
But
about
£4
prices
for a
of
pie
products
is
that didn't exist, that
scandalous.
they even sell. I'm getting annoyed about it.
It would be scandalous if they sell it for
Aye.
that amount of money. I'd be fucking outraged.
I'd get it at least once for the novelty factor that I was part of the cheese toastie revolution at Easter Road, and then I wouldn't bother Mars afterwards.
It's funny, like obviously the survey came out just before the announcement about the investment. They're talking about improving things at Easter Road, like the whole match day experience, and you think they're going to have a bit more money to play with. And where does your mind go? Cheese toasties and toilet locks.
The first question was the best one. Oh, do you want investment? I'd love to see how many answers we got saying no. There will be. I think there is people will say no because I think there is people against the investment.
Aye. Mental.
How did you answer? Like, what would you like to see catering wise? Where would you like to see future investment made?
I said so for like the on the match day, I said it would be good to have like kiosks, like so you could buy stuff for the club shops. So see when I give an example, when I come in, I park behind the West Stand. Sometimes at the Sainsbury's, and then my seat's in the West Stand, so I only really see the West Stand when I come in. And there's nothing like there's no that ever like going spending tons of money at Hibs, but there's nothing for like an impulse buy. Do you know what I mean? Like a scarf or a shirt or a hat
or rammed, even if you did go in, mate, and you would just get people standing in the queue.
Or a hoodie, whatever it is, a pair of gloves, and it's called. Can you imagine, Ken, like a November night, and you went in, you're like, okay, Hibs gloves there, like for a tenner or whatever. You go, right, that's good because I forgot mine. You go get a pair of gloves. So I said that we could do impulse buys like that, and then add like street food options. Kind of have like some really good pop up restaurants now that they nice different types of street food. You could do that rather than a bit of your traditional fare. And I wanted them to do like a big investment in coach development as well to be like a industry leading coach development program. So you kind of take everybody to the A license or the pro license, whatever the top level is there, and then how do you take that further and improve on that? That's what I
You
suggested.
said coach development, and I thought you meant like the team bus.
Well, that too. Like, I mean, could you make it faster, more efficient, greener, etc.? That
Electric.
was what I went for. Colin, how about you?
I've not filled that
All right.
in. Just to be open and honest. So I've not thought about. I didn't know what the questions were because I've not looked at. But I'd like them to have more, like to get people on the ground earlier, build the atmosphere earlier. Like, because you see it on it. How many times have we messaged each other over the years at 2 minutes to three going, fucking
Is
take
everyone?
the day.
Mm.
And it's about 5 past 3. You go, oh, it's not too bad in the end. Everybody just rushes in at the last minute. It'd be good to get people there earlier, which I know was our own Gordon thing,
Yeah.
But I don't know how you go about that. Whether that's like sort of bars on the outside of the East Stand, maybe because if they're putting something in the famous five, and you've got the East, but then the West, sorry, but they are A bars, so they're no like and they're kind of limited the numbers. But we're quite good to get people down there early and get the atmosphere going, so that not everybody's rushing. If Barry wants to do something like a singer on, like at Liam for Retro Video Club on, there's folk there to fucking see it.
Aye.
Just to build the atmosphere, it helps with the atmosphere. Put that safe standing in, but if they're off and running for the pub at 2 minutes to three, then
Yep.
you want them there. You want them there early, I think.
Cool.
That's
Okay.
That's the atmosphere.
Aye, match the atmosphere. Right, that's us out of time. If you're listening to this on what day is the day? 1st of February. If you're listening to the 1st, 2nd of February, that means you're a subscriber, and thank you very much for that. We do appreciate it. If you're listening to this on the 8th or the 9th, it means you're not quite a subscriber yet. And if you want to get these in the week that they come out, you can subscribe on Patreon. You can do it on Hubwave. Would suggest probably Patreon over Hubwave is a bit easier to use. Or you can, if you watch us rather than listen to us on YouTube, you can get the subscriber content directly from our YouTube channel as well. $2.99 a month, so penny cheaper than Patreon as well. Can't say fairer than that.
Bargain.
So I go into that, and if you see any content on YouTube of that, if you give us a wee share as well. We're on TikTok as well. Try to get down with the kids and that and belie my age by doing things like this. I still didn't understand it, so help us out. If you see something, just fucking like it and share it or something like that. I think that's what I'm supposed to ask you to do. Anyway,
Hit us up.
right. Aye, hit us up.
Follow,
That's it.
like, comment, share.
Aye. All right. I get up. Right. Thanks very much for tuning in. We will see you next time.
I pledged upon. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink what I know.